Okay, so you know what we haven't done in a very long time?
Well, that's a long list. You have to be more specific than that.
Okay, I said what we haven't done, not what you haven't done. I wasn't naming the dishes and things like that.
All right, that's a separate issue, not related to the podcast.
So we haven't done a game to test your trivia knowledge since, you're like a trivia god or something.
I'm not a trivia god. I just happen to be fairly good at it most of the time.
Right. Well, so since I know that you're not a super great Seth Rogen fan, I decided that it was a good time to have you do trivia. So the movie we're doing this week is The Interview. It's Seth Rogen and James Franco. And this movie included, there have been 6 James Franco / Seth Rogen collabs up until this point. So I think this movie came out in 2014.
Okay.
So that means from 2014 backwards.
The Interview.
Really? Oh my god, good job.
Pineapple Express.
Yep.
This Is the End.
Yep.
Superbad.
No.
I don't know.
What? What?
Stop.
That's the other guy you don't like, Michael Cera. You get the people you dislike confused.
So it says, Interview, This Is the End, Pineapple Express. Did Sausage Party come up before this?
No.
No?
It's not on the list.
Okay.
I believe Sausage Party came out in 2016, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, after this. So that would be number 7.
That's not relevant. I did not write down the ones that came out after this, but probably.
I have no idea. I'm drawing a complete blank.
Okay, the one with Katherine Heigl.
40-Year-Old Virgin?
What? What?
She was in that one with Seth Rogen. No, not 40-Year-Old. God, I'm dying. You know what movie though? I know the exact movie. Yes, it's Knocked Up.
Yes, there you go.
I'm thinking about Judd Apatow and all the other movies that he's done.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not even either of them. Well, it's Seth Rogen as a minor character, but
I'm dying.
Knocked Up.
Yep. So you only have 2 more.
I'm not going to get them.
I'm going to give them to you?
Sure.
The Green Hornet.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's one I'm not positive if I've seen. And then this one I've never heard of. The Sound and the Fury.
I've never heard of that one either.
No, so I'm going to have to look that up after. But so that's the 6.
Well, I did terribly. And I also mentioned a movie completely unrelated. Great
job.
Glad you're so happy. Anyway, movie this week is The Interview. One of the ones that I did actually get.
The first one.
Yeah. My name's Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct. So, what did you think initially of the movie?
So taking the movie outside of what it's like about in the political climate right now and all of that. So removing it from that, the movie was really dumb. Like, really yes. Dumb. Like, I normally like Seth Rogen, but this was like a new low for him. Like, it was dumb. It was racist. It was demeaning to women. Like, there was not a lot of highlights. But if you put it back into the political climate, there were a lot of things that I can look at and kind of be like, oh, wow, he actually must have researched this because he knew these things. And
relevant satire.
Right. And relevant that he wouldn't have known it would be relevant. We'll get to it, but
yeah, so he's getting credit for something that he couldn't have known.
But he obviously did a lot of research,
yes.
Which is not something that other people in this political climate can say.
Well, I mean, I guess that's fair, but at the same time, it was just so over the top, dumb, and offensive for the sake of being offensive.
Right.
Which is one of the things I hate about Seth Rogen movies. They go out of their way to be.
This one was a new low. I mean, it didn't pass the Bechdel test. At all. 0%. I mean, they almost didn't even really have women in the movie for the first,
there was
half hour.
One female character in the whole movie.
Nope, there was 2. The,
oh, yeah, the CIA agent.
Yes. So Lizzie Kaplan, which I love her. And apparently she's in a lot of Seth Rogen movies, so
apparently they were on Freaks and Geeks back in the day together.
Right, I mean, I adore her. And then I can't remember her name. Yeah, something like that. But they were highly, highly sexualized.
Well, yeah.
And their purpose was really just to add comic relief. Like, it didn't really advance the narrative that much. Like, I mean, the CIA agent could have been a man and it wouldn't have made a difference.
Well, they needed some female characters, which is why they had them that way.
They needed female characters to have female characters.
Yes, exactly.
It was very...
There was no other point to having them cast as women other than to say, hey, we have women in this movie.
Right, and there was really no romance. It was a bromance the whole time. Which is fine. Like, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to have a romance, but it was just...
Well, there's a romance between Seth Rogen and the Asian girl.
That was not a romance. That was not... All romance was stripped from that. It was purely sexual.
Mostly lust, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to give a brief overview of what the movie's about?
Movie is about a reality TV personality such as Oprah or...
Not really reality TV. You mean like talk show
Talk show host. It's more Oprah mixed with Jerry Springer, I guess.
Well, they said it was Oprah meets Ryan Seacrest basically on drugs. That's
basically Jerry Springer, so I guess that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interview personality, and apparently the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un, is a huge fan, and so they arrange an interview, and then the CIA contacts the TV star to assassinate the North Korean dictator.
Basically.
And the whole movie is that, and that's the whole movie. And then they just go about planning for it and fucking up everywhere and just making a mockery of the whole...
Basically, yeah.
Whole system.
Right.
And yeah, that's basically it. And it's inappropriate from start to finish.
Absolutely.
I
mean, Seth Rogen plays the same character he plays in almost every movie. He's a screw-up who has some kind of a realization and decides that he wants to put his life in a different way, and he starts, like, pushing towards, like, getting better, and he makes some progress, but he's still kind of a screw-up throughout the whole thing, and it's, like, that whole struggle of becoming better of a screw-up, I guess.
Better of a screw-up, and then also things just work out somehow for him.
Right.
Like, he manages to, for some inexplicable reason, the Asian woman finds him attractive.
Okay, you're jumping, but yes.
But yes, so it's just that's what I don't like about Seth Rogen, because it's the exact same thing over and over again.
Right.
Every time.
Well, let's start at the beginning of the movie, the Eminem interview.
Fantastic. I don't know how they got Eminem to do it.
I don't either, and I was reading some stuff about it, and apparently people actually thought and are debating whether or not Eminem actually came out. Like, they were saying that this was his way of doing it in a funny way so that people wouldn't be too shocked, and they were pointing to his duet with Elton John as proof that he's been trying to show this for a little while now, and they pulled out some lyrics too, and were saying, like, he's been talking about it with Dr. Dre, and no, he's not. He does seem to be an advocate for gay rights from some of the things I read. He does seem to be...
Well, that's understandable. I mean...
Right, but that does not make you gay.
No, it just means that you understand people are people and it shouldn't matter regardless.
Right, but I think it was the website Cinema Blend that I was reading that was, like, had this whole debate on there about, like, could this really be him coming out? Like, did he decide to make it in a movie so it would, like, be less of a shock factor? And I'm like, really? I mean, like, all of his songs are about Kim. Like, a good majority of them, yeah, they have a rocky relationship, but...
Well, yeah, so there's a long way from hating an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife to being gay.
Right.
Like, he really hates her. So that's not the same as being...
He has a hate-love relationship, because they went back and forth for a very long time.
But that's not the same as hating her to the point of...
Being gay?
Gay.
Well, usually you don't turn gay because you hate someone.
You don't turn gay at all. You are or are not.
Right.
To my understanding, it's like being straight.
Right. It's not how that works. So, regardless, it's crazy. But I just thought it was insane that was what people were talking about. And apparently, you know that rap song they were talking about?
The one that Eminem was talking about, the breadcrumbs of gayness?
Yeah, well, the elderly one, though, they were making fun of...
okay, yeah.
He wrote those lyrics, apparently.
I did read that, actually, when I was doing the research.
Oh, you did? So yeah. Well, when I heard it, I'm like, that's not an Eminem song. He doesn't just be derogatory to be derogatory. Like, he's usually pretty smart with his lyrics, but I guess, like, they must have told him, like, be awful, be terrible.
Well, they probably told him what the movie was, or what he was doing in the movie, and then said, go to town, have fun, and that's what he came back with, and they're... Right. Of course they loved it.
Right. Now, at the time of that interview, you told me that they were mocking the Tom Cruise, Oprah Winfrey thing in it, but I never saw that. And I was like, what did I miss?
Did you not see the Tom Cruise on Oprah?
No, I've seen the Tom Cruise. I didn't see it in the movie.
Oh, you didn't see it in the movie? It was that type of setup where it's the gotcha interview, where you sit down for a friendly interview, and then overnight, just that second, it turns...
gotcha. So it's the type of journalism you mean?
Right, exactly.
I was expecting someone to jump up and down on a couch or something, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm missing it. Eminem's not even, like, having emotion here.
No, it's just going from a sit-down interview, like, casual interview, to asking the serious questions, which happens throughout the movie. That's his thing.
Gotcha.
And that reminds me instantly of that interview and Oprah's style in general, because she'll be your best friend, and she's, by all accounts, a nice person, but then she can turn it on you.
Right, well, that's good journalism.
That makes compelling television, and I get that.
Right.
I don't sit down and watch TV interviews and things like that, because I just don't have the time or the patience.
Oh, see, I like some of them, but I like ones that are more, like, conversational and fun and, you know, that kind of thing. But anyway, so from there, they show a lot of New York scenes, which is not in New York. Very sad. Very sad, because we were just there, and I was, like, hoping to, like, point out something that I, like, just saw, but no.
It's Vancouver and
it's
other
all
places.
Canada.
All Canada?
All Canada. So, yeah. Depressing.
They didn't have any shooting in North Korea or China or anything like that?
Zero. All Canada.
I could have sworn they had some, like, B-roll footage that they used.
They might have used footage from other things, but all of their filming was in Canada. Okay. So, depressing. Very depressing. But, what was I going to say? So basically, this Dave Schuyler, whatever guy, is like a egomaniac, I would say.
Yeah.
And when he finds out that Kim Jong-un enjoys his show, he's like, yeah, I'll totally interview him, because Seth Rogen basically wants to go serious. It looks like, I guess Seth Rogen decided he wanted to go serious because one guy made a comment about him not being serious, which seemed like a bit of a stretch to me. Like, one person says this to you, so now all of a sudden you have a midlife crisis. To be fair, that
one person was a huge dick about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one, like, does one person's opinion really affect you that much?
Not unless it's an important person in my life. It's just some random person you went to college with.
Right.
And it's like, dude, go to hell.
To me, that would have made more sense for that to be a girl that he used to have, like, a thing with something like that.
That would have made more sense.
Because then it would have been like, oh, I lost this girl because I was a screw-up, and now she's telling me, like, I should be doing this.
I still haven't grown up, and the whole I'm doing nothing with my life, and...
Right. That would have made more sense to me. There, I could understand having a female in there, and whatever. But, you know, do you guys, you don't really believe in women, that's fine.
College acquaintance that you don't really talk to anymore.
Right.
And... I
mean, yeah, he became successful, but you can't say that Seth Rogen really wasn't successful in his own right. Maybe it wasn't a serious show, but he clearly is making money, so... Yeah.
Can I just say that while they are the same people in each one of the movies, they do have a weird chemistry.
They do.
Seth Rogen and James Franco are a good pair.
They are. I mean...
Like them or hate them.
I don't like dumb comedy. I don't like dumb comedy.
Yeah.
I don't. But they do have some weird thing that I do like to watch in small doses.
It's similar to Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber, a movie you hate. I had to throw that out there, and Twitter's going to hate you for this.
Well, let's just hope that people skip over this part. I'll just put a timestamp on it. Do not listen to this section.
So they do have that weird chemistry. I like I'm thinking this is a lot of James Franco coming through in the writing, but there are a lot of Lord of the Rings references, and he's a
lot of Lord of the Rings references. Like, well,
he's a huge Lord of the Rings nerd.
Oh, he is? I didn't know that.
Not as much as Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is the Lord of the Rings nerd of all nerds. Like, it's not even. It's weird how much Stephen Colbert likes Lord of the Rings.
The fact that you know that is weird, but okay.
I'm a fan. I saw an interview between him and James Franco, and they're comparing and doing the bragging rights and asking trivia questions, and Colbert just smoked him. It was crazy.
So I didn't know that James... I thought it was weird that there was so many Lord of the Rings references, because I'm like, how does this fit in, really? Like, it just seemed random, but...
I don't think it fits in. I just think that it's James Franco. That's part of him. That's part of his personality that's coming through the movie to the audience.
That makes sense.
So... they're just really, really over the top racist with the making fun of Asian people's accents and
I know this is towards the end of the movie, but the dog. I'm gonna take you to where they don't eat dogs. What? I've never heard of that in Korea. So why are you?
Well, it was just really, really uncomfortable for me to watch this movie. It's like I don't get why that's necessary.
Right. It wasn't.
Was
necessary.
it funny? Am I missing something? It did just not funny and.
See, I don't find that stuff funny, but I'm also very conservative in the.
Well, you're also not their target audience. Their target audience is teenage boys.
Oh, right.
For this movie.
Right. One thing I did want to mention that since we're talking about like the unnecessary humor and whatever is their obsession with the words honey dicking and honey potting.
Yes.
So I tried to look up these words. Now, I get from the context that the idea of this is like basically putting something out there to lure you in, usually sexually, to lure you in to make you do something, to manipulate you. I got that. But
and traditionally it's honeypot.
It's honeypotting, right. And it comes from porn, apparently.
I have no idea where it comes from. I just know that it's a term that I'd always assumed came from like spycraft and so forth, where they're using an attractive person, either male or female, to lure an agent from the other side. I don't know what the CIA gets into. The CIA is into some weird stuff.
Well, right.
Like, can we just go over how incompetent the CIA was? Where was honey dicking from? You said porn.
Well, so honey potting, it's from pornography in 2010. It looks like honey dicking they made up, and so all of the definitions come after this movie.
Yes.
But honey potting was from 2010. It's a pornography thing, and it says to good-naturedly insert one's finger into a partner's anus during doggy-style sex and subsequently lick it, usually performed several times during the same sitting. So that's where it comes from, and they reappropriated it to be what they've made it. I'm assuming they knew the original meaning and that they thought that was funny. I'm not really sure.
That's over the top. We're not having this one be clean. This is definitely an explicit podcast now.
Well, my point of that was that they insert all of these things in there that are just unnecessarily like disturbing. That it's like,
well, it's just crude and crass for the sake of being crude.
Right? Couldn't you just have learned? Like, she was baiting me. Like, couldn't you have used something else? Like, did it have to be a pornography reference? Did it? Like, I don't feel that served anything.
No, it didn't. And I mean, they have several instances of this, like they're loading up on the weapons and they just suddenly have sex. Seth Rogen and the Asian lady, like it's not advancing the plot. But that
reminded me of Big Trouble in Little China when he was like randomly making out with her like in the elevator or something. And I'm just like, well, why though? Like, what? How did this serve a purpose? It didn't. It was just, we need to have a kiss on screen because it's Hollywood and that's what happened. So let's just make sure we get it in there. Like, just didn't advance the plot at all.
Well, there's that, the whole like missile thing that he had to pick up in the field, having to stick it where the sun don't shine.
Mm-hmm. That seems to happen a lot in Seth Rogen movies.
They have a weird fascination with their own asses.
Yes,
like it's over the top. But it's just like, no, I don't think
I've seen Seth Rogen's butt more than I've seen yours.
I don't doubt that he has very little modesty, I guess.
Right, it's strange. But anyways, you were saying how incompetent the CIA was? Is that what you were saying?
Well, yeah, this movie made them look terrible. And then I was like, the CIA can't really be that incompetent, can they?
Why do you say that?
Well, and then I thought about it, and I was like, wait, they actually might be.
Okay, these things do not need to be said on a recorded podcast. But anyway, why do you say that they were portrayed as incompetent?
They picked this pair instead of like putting an agent in there instead of the actual producer.
Okay, but
like they just picked two random guys off the street. That's really dumb.
But that's not what happened. I think what the whole point was is it's hard to get FaceTime with Kim Jong-un, and finally they had an American who got FaceTime, so they had to take advantage of that situation.
Well, yes, but he has to surely have some kind of people that go in his entourage where you could slide in an American CIA agent.
I mean, I don't know the history, but I'm going to go with it's probably not as easy as you're making that sound.
I don't know. But then I thought about it, and then the CIA has done some really dumb things, like the Bay of Pigs and the WMDs in Iraq and so forth. And
oh, good. So we're going to make this political. Great.
It's not political. They just have screwed up quite a bit.
Okay, so since we're talking about the CIA, do we want to talk about the ricin?
The ricin?
Yes.
Sure. Let's talk about the ricin, the poison.
So I did not realize that Kim Jong-un's brother was also killed by...
Ricin?
Well, not ricin.
Poison.
A similar poison. It was called VX. He was killed in 2017.
Jesus.
And they believe that it happened by two women touching his face. So a similar thing. It was a poison that was put on his skin and its delayed effect and all of those things.
Transdermal absorption, the whole...
Right. No, I don't know. I mean, it was after this movie. I don't know, like, any of that stuff. But I didn't realize that happened. And that just kind of is weird. Like...
Well, that's an odd coincidence. VX is a nasty substance by all accounts.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just know when I was reading the article, it said similar to ricin. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, there's also other instances of actual ricin poisoning. I mean, there was a guy that was poisoned by an umbrella back in, like, I think the 80s or 90s.
Oh, that thing you were showing me where you, like, stabbed him in the leg or something?
Somebody got stabbed with a poison-tipped umbrella by a ricin pellet.
It's like Deadly Mary Poppins over here.
It's the KGB and I think the Bulgarian secret police or something like that.
Now, do you think it would have worked the way that they did it with this little strip and stuff? Because I feel like the whole time I would have been terrified that I'd like wipe my face or whatever.
I don't know. There's no way that I would be able to have that. I can't do that job. I know for a fact that I have no poker face.
Well, no, you'd be sweating profusely.
It'd be like a bit. And we're taking you to a death camp. Basically.
But I just thought that was interesting, and I thought the fact that it was so close to Kim Jong-un, just like, okay, that's weird. That's...
No, it is weird. I mean, that's one of the favorite ways to poison or get rid of your rivals is to just have them offed in various methods, and poison is one of the easier, harder to detect ways where it's subtle.
Right.
Rather than having them all brought up and firing squatted all together, where that's very public, and you don't really want that if you're trying to become a dictator. I'd imagine. I don't really have the experience background for that, but I would imagine you want to keep it quiet.
You would think.
Right.
Now, did you know there's another movie that shows an assassination attempt on a dictator?
On a current dictator. I did read that, and it was Hitler.
Right. Why'd you say current?
Well, current at the time of the movie.
Oh, I was like, what?
No, current at the time of the movie, assassinating a world leader.
Right.
And this is one, and the other one was about Hitler. It's something like the Hunter...
Manhunt. From 1941.
Yes.
Yes. I did not know that there was another one because a lot of the articles were saying that this was the first.
No, it was not the first. It was the second.
Apparently.
And you got to say that the North Koreans didn't take it very well. By
this
all
movie,
accounts.
you mean?
Yes. Well, I don't think they would care about the Nazis.
No, but they called him a gangster filmmaker. How cool is that? Like, I feel like they need to do a video of, like, Gangster's Paradise with, like, him, like, being a
I think filmmaker. That might be a translation issue, because...
No, it was not a compliment, but that's what
it's not a compliment, but it comes across cool.
Well, right. I think they mean it like...
Well, they didn't mean it how it comes across, clearly.
Obviously not, but still... To us, we're like, oh, well, that's gangster.
Yes, because we are both so gangster. Like, that's just...
And Seth Rogen is any more gangster than us?
Oh, he's the most gangster person in Hollywood. Are you kidding?
Yeah, gold chains and all. But no.
Oh, God.
But yes, they did take it terribly. They tried to... They said that they were going to retaliate. And I know that there is rumor that they were behind the Sony attack. I don't know if it was ever... determined that they were behind it or not.
So I think it was either the North Koreans, which they're a government, so they can certainly hack a company system. I mean, that I would imagine they have the capability, just like the CIA could, or any of our agencies could.
Right.
I'm still not convinced it's not entirely just publicity that they did for the movie to say, well, it was hacked and blah 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 blah. It's so controversial.
It could be. I mean, some of the information that was leaked, you wouldn't think that they would want people to know. But, I mean, what they mentioned the salaries of both people, that Seth Rogen made considerably more than James Franco. they mentioned that $5,000 was given to Kevin Federline for a cameo, which I don't think ever happened because I never saw Kevin Federline in the movie.
Well, Kevin Federline, I don't think was in the movie. I don't think, because Beyonce and Jay-Z were also given like $10,000 to be in the movie, and they never were in the movie.
Right. So
I don't know how they didn't have Katy Perry in the movie when her songs were all over this movie. Like,
she probably wanted nothing to do with it, which I do not blame her.
Fair. I mean, I do want to touch on this before I forget. Mm-hmm. The whole parallels between when this movie was made and James Franco's character and the current administration. Like,
oh, dun, dun, dun.
They are the same person.
Well, so did you see the Stephen Colbert interview that I sent you?
No.
Okay, so obviously you knew the whole time I was saying that I thought he seemed a lot like Trump and like how...
Right.
So I wanted to see if anybody else had made that connection or if I'm a crazy person. Because it happens, you know. And apparently Stephen Colbert recently interviewed Seth Rogen and asked him, like, do you see the similarities there? And he said it was uncanny how James Franco is basically exactly the president, like egotistical, very naive, very...
unintelligent,
right,
and stupid,
and easily duped, and like all of these things. And he was like, we just never expected that this person would be the president of the United States. So there is an audience ask question that goes back to this that I kind of want to talk about, but just what's your opinion of the parallels between the administration?
I thought that they did a scary, accurate job of like showing what could happen if a dumb, naive person goes to North Korea. Like, I imagine that's exactly what happened in those backdoor meetings and so forth, where Donald Trump, there were no cameras, it was Kim Jong-un, and I mean, Kim Jong-un speaks conversational English when we know for a fact that Donald Trump doesn't speak conversational English. Let alone another language.
That's fair. I mean, they did a really good job about showing the lies that are basically told to Koreans and how those lies can be received by somebody who's really not informed and kind of believe that like he really is like some kind of like almost deity.
The scary thing is that we're starting to get those lies in this country.
Well,
like,
right.
It's just the fake press, that's how you start down the road to being North Korea.
Right. Well, I mean, so one of the lies that they brought up in the movie that you told me was true.
They don't, the dictator does not poop or pee.
Right. And it goes further to say that he doesn't puke, he doesn't burp, he doesn't fart, like all of these things. And it's actually, like, that's what they actually believe about him. And there's other things, too, that they actually believe about him. Like, he learned to drive at the age of 3.
They found unicorns in North Korea somehow and didn't tell anyone. They have hangover-free beer. And if they just marketed that to the rest of the world, they'd be the richest country in the world.
Or they were responsible for McDonald's opening. Or
they invented the hamburger in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm. He beat a yachting pro when he was 9 years old.
He has 11 hole-in-ones and bowled a perfect game.
Right. So, I mean, like, all of these things, obviously we hear it and we're just like, well, duh, that's obviously a lie. But these people have been it's been so ingrained in them that this stuff is true.
Right.
That it's crazy that it's not something that Trump can see through. But obviously, he either sees through it and he's playing a really great act to all of us, or he's been manipulated by the master manipulator that is Kim Jong-un. Like, they also said he wrote 1,500 books while he was in university.
Yes.
Like, what? But these things are what people believe. And, I mean, Trump coming out of there and saying how great of a guy he is. And
it's terrifying. And it's something we see Donald Trump trying to do the same thing about himself.
I know, but let's be careful on that. I don't want to take sides.
I'm going to take a side. I hate the president of the United States. He's such a dick.
Some things I don't want on a recorded podcast.
I'm sorry. I had to... okay, moving on.
No, jeez. Okay, so I'm going to go to the audience ask question because that was just awful. And Tony Igeb on our Facebook asked, do you think Seth Rogen and James Franco were the right choice, or do you think Simon Pegg and Nick Frost would have been better?
I honestly prefer Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as a tandem or a duo, I don't think they would have worked in this movie.
No, I mean, one, they're British, so that's a little weird. Although
Yes.
James Franco and Seth Rogen are Canadian.
Although British people are responsible for James Bond, so it might have played.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But
I really like them more as, like, cute humor. Not cute humor, but, like, happy, like, humor. Not, like, derogatory, like...
well, it just they wouldn't have worked in this movie. It would not have gone over. It would have been a completely different movie if they were involved, because they would have been the ones directing and producing it. It would have had a very different flavor than the just crude toilet bathroom humor,
right?
And
now,
sex and violence for no reason.
If I could do it now, I would definitely cast Alec Baldwin as Donald Trump instead of James Franco, because I feel like that would be hilarious. I mean, I'm fine with keeping Seth Rogen in there. It doesn't really matter either way. But I really feel like a movie like this with Alec Baldwin as Donald Trump would be amazing.
Where the president has to kill the president?
It would be amazing. And a remake really needs to happen, because I'd be all over that movie. Like, Alec Baldwin plays an amazing Trump.
Oh.
Amazing.
Yes.
And it just... I feel like it would just play well, and it would just be... like, just take that trailer from the summit that the president made and make it into a real movie.
The president's trailer. The words president's trailer should not be spoken.
I'm just saying, if he made a trailer, then he can't be totally against a movie being made from said trailer, and Alec Baldwin can play him because he's busy and he can't play himself.
Is he busy, though? It doesn't seem like he does a whole lot.
I mean, he's busy getting a tan and, like, things, and...
starting trade wars for no discernible reason.
Yes, and promoting, like, McDonald's with all of his hamburgers. So, they have something in common right there. McDonald's, hamburgers.
Yes.
So, But anyway, so I feel like a recasting, a remake needs to be done with Alec Baldwin. So
just a sequel.
Putting that out there.
A sequel.
Well, it can't be a sequel because he's dead, so it has to be a remake.
No, a sequel will just have some other dictator having taken over.
No, but it's funnier. Yeah. It's funnier to be...
That's fair.
Yeah. So another audience asked question, Rudy Land, do you think Seth Rogen really concealed that radio transponder in his ass? If so, how much practice do you think he put it in before shooting the scene? Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to go with he did not do that, because why would he? Like,
there's no reason to do that other than to be a method actor. I don't understand the question. Like, why?
Right, why
did you see that damn thing? It was enormous and, like, spiky and...
But at the same time, knowing Seth Rogen, I also wouldn't put it past him. So, maybe this guy has some information that we don't have about,
I can't see it. I would just...
No, I can't imagine that happening. That sounds painful on a lot of levels, but...
Well, the tip is the worst part, apparently.
Well, she knew from experience, obviously. But, and before I forget, because we are running out of time, I did want to mention that there is another movie that was supposed to be made around the same time, around the same concept, called Pyongyang. It was a French-Canadian graphic novel, and it was meant to be adapted into a film with Steve Carell as the star, but it was pulled because of the
backlash.
Right. But there is talk that maybe it will be put back on the schedule.
What is that about? Is that about killing North Korea's dictator?
No, it's about it's from the perspective of somebody who was in Korea and has, like, all the information of, like, what's going on there and things like that. Now, I don't know if it's supposed to be funny or anything like that. It's a graphic novel, so I mean, it could go either way. I mean, think of V for Vendetta. It wasn't really funny. So I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know much about it, but Steve Carell is known to be
funny.
Like, right. So, I don't know, but I'd be interested to see if that movie gets back on track, because I really like Steve Carell. I think he's a
fantastic.
really great actor. He does do serious roles. We had seen him in The Big Short, but he
was still funny in that movie, though. Like,
he was still funny.
But I don't think he can help being funny, even if it's a serious role.
Right. But I am curious to see if that ever gets done. I would actually like to see the graphic novel, just to see, because I'm very interested in learning about, what's going on there, and, like, what the actual political climate is without hearing it from the media where it's so skewed.
I'm interested because I don't think I've ever seen Steve Carell in a serious movie.
Right. So, we can do more research into it, but I had read that and I thought it was interesting that that might come back on the tracks now that this has kind of died out.
So, I wanted to touch on, they actually showed this to North Korean defectors. So, people who had left North Korea. And they showed them this movie to get their insight on it. And so one of the quotes was, the first time I watched this, it was meaningless and pointless. But the second time I watched it, so they showed it a couple times to the same person, and they got their feedback. I'm hoping that people will pick up the important points and that this is a serious problem, blah, 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 blah.
Right. So
one of the other people said, I don't even think people knew that North Korea was a thing.
Honestly, back then, I didn't know much. I'll be honest. Back when this came out in 2014, I did not know much about the North Korea tensions that were rising. I didn't understand that they really believed that Americans were like the devil incarnate and all needed to die. Like, I mean, not just the dictator, but it was taught to kids in school. And I just didn't.
Day one, where the evil people ready to kill you and take your children.
Right, and I didn't really. I mean, now obviously it's on the news every single day. Something about them, so It's very in our face. But back then, I really didn't. But this movie is a lot like Sausage Party in the respect that if you look underneath all of the crude humor, there is a lot of really good things that they're trying to explain to you and show you. I just don't know with this one if it really delivered that message. Like, I feel like if I didn't watch it now, where I know things, where I know he's manipulative and that he, is known to do this kind of thing, I'm not sure I would have picked up on everything.
Right. It's almost like the ending of Shawshank Redemption, where he's crawling through the sewer to get to freedom. So we have to crawl through all of the crap that they put on this movie for no goddamn reason.
Right.
Other than to, say, make it hard to watch for normal people.
Right.
And cater to 13-year-old boys.
Right.
Other than that, like, there was some good subtext underneath, but it was just so buried.
It really was. I mean, I think Sausage Party did a better job of getting it up to the surface.
Right.
But this one was a little bit like, if I didn't know what I know, I probably would have missed the things that were really important. And I think the whole point of it was to deliver that message to people who wouldn't have normally received it. And I don't think that
it didn't carry through because no one has the background on that. I mean, I had known about North Korea being a dictatorship and being horrible. I didn't know any of the real specifics or anything like that. One thing that I loved about I was researching this movie, and I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes, which this movie has a 51%.
Yes, it does, and 48% audience score.
Yes. So I read a review that I think this applies perfectly, and it's middling laughs bolstered by two likable leads. So it's a mediocre movie, but you like the two main characters. Like the two actors, their pairing carries through the whole movie. Otherwise, it would just be the
right. If these were unknown actors, nobody would even get past.
Well, it's just not even that. The chemistry they have, going back and forth. If they didn't have that, this would be one of the worst movies ever made. Like, it's really hard to watch.
And I mean, its score is bolstered by the fact that it had like 100% when it came out because of people trying
out of spite and trying to get it up there and elevated to be viewed and seen by more people.
Right. Yeah. So it definitely it got a higher score than it should have anyway.
Do we have any more audience asks?
Well, we already did two. I mean, I can give you one more just for good measure. Was Sony really hacked, or did they use this as a marketing tool to build hype for the movie?
I think we already touched on that.
Podcast.
I think we already touched on that. I think it was probably the North Koreans. I'm going to give Sony the benefit of the doubt and not being that kind of sneaky, although that's what I thought when it originally happened. And
didn't a group come out and say that it was them? There was like some advocacy group that came out and said that they did it, so it could have been them too. I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
But I did want to mention just reviews before we get past the movie. We did get a review on iTunes from Marty Marr, and it says, I feel like I'm listening to me and my man when I talk about movies. Thanks for taking my side, girl. So, I mean, clearly I am always right, and
you're not always right.
Somebody else is pointing that out.
No.
But she's from the Pop Off podcast. It says it's a take on pop culture news and current events. I have not had a chance to listen to this podcast yet, but I'm planning on doing that today. I love pop culture podcasts. I don't know about you, but I just love hearing people's sides on news and current events and stuff because you only get one side from the media. So I was happy to
totally
see
know that I listen to every podcast I can get my hands on.
Which is zero. A grand total. When you can get your hands on zero podcasts, it still equals zero. So
yes, I think I've listened to maybe 2 podcasts in my entire life.
Yeah,
But
so I mean, thank you for all of the help in supporting the podcast community.
I'm here as the other half of it. Otherwise, it'd be you talking to a microphone by yourself.
Which, I mean, people wouldn't hate because at least I didn't hate Big Trouble in Little China. Just putting that out there, just
because you're wrong doesn't mean that you're not still wrong. You're just wrong. That was a terrible movie.
Oh, God.
This movie was terrible and probably worse than Big Trouble, but Big Trouble was terrible. These movies were both terrible.
So, on that note, what do you rate this movie?
I have a hard time giving it anything above 5, honestly. I'm going to say 5.
All right. I was going to say 5.5, maybe 6, because of the parallels that they inadvertently got to the president.
Well, they backed their asses into that accidentally. I'm not going to give them credit for something that happened.
But it is relevant, and it does make it more watchable.
Now it does make it more... I watched this originally before Donald Trump, so I have...
Now, if Alec Baldwin was Donald Trump and this basically same premise played out, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. 11.
So, just putting that out there still needs to happen. Let's make a Twitter movement. But, regardless, what are we doing next week?
Next week is July 4th.
It is.
So we were obligated to do this movie, and everyone already knows what we're doing. We're doing Independence Day, Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum, because it's Independence Day. That's just, it had to happen.
Right. It fell on that day. We don't have a choice. Our hands are tied.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. I did want to give a thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music. And I'm looking forward to Independence Day next week.
I'm excited. It's one of my favorites.